Hello and welcome to a new video on the channel. In today's video what we're going to be talking about is books. I haven't read many books before. I'm not a serial reader. I've only read around about 9 books and I'm still currently 75% of the way through the Game of Thrones book. But I've got 5 books here, technically 6 because the last 2 kind of jump into one another. But here we've got 5 of what I would consider my favourites out of the ones that I've read. I know that I've not read a lot, but in terms of the ones that I have read, I've taken a lot from. So yeah, I definitely recommend these, and let's get into this. So the first one on this list is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I got this book when it first came out, as it came out just after Jordan Peterson's Beyond Order came out. And I read this all the way through. It was one of 2 books, so those 2 that I read in 1 month, which is the fastest I had ever read any books. But yeah, this book here is one of my favourites. One, Audible-wise, and as well to actually read itself. Both of them are amazing. I honestly, after reading it, I just wanted to either go travelling or just go out and explore shit. And that's basically what I wanted to do. Haven't been able to, because obviously when I read that, we were still in the 3rd lockdown in the UK. But yeah, I definitely want to, whenever I'm eventually about to go travelling again, I'll probably reread the book or listen to the audiobook again. Both are really great. If you already know what his voice sounds like, then you'll basically already be reading in his voice in your head anyway. But when it comes to the audiobook, what you're getting with that is actually an experience that just feels like, obviously, Matthew McConaughey is actually talking to you about everything. The book is set out in a way that is meant to be a autobiography, but more of a self-development sort of book. So yes, if that is something that you're into, make sure to check this one out. It's very similar to a lot of the books that I have read, really, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of what probably will be coming in this next set. But yeah, Matthew McConaughey's book overall goes through a lot of different ideas, primarily that obviously you don't know yourself and that you basically just need to go out, explore, do new things to learn who you are, and also if you're going to go for something, just go 100% in. There's no point of basically half-assing anything, so give it your best shot. The next book on this list is I'll Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This book is amazing, I'm not going to lie to you. It was one of the first books I'd actually read. I read the British version of the original. I've not read mass amounts of this one, purely because, to be honest, I've read the first one, and from what I've seen of reviews of this book, it is basically kind of the same stuff, just a little bit more up to date. And I've already listened to a lot of his stuff anyway, so I kind of get the premise of what gets spoken about in these. But when it comes to this book, if you haven't read this book and you want to basically learn about your personal finances, how to manage your own money, and actually make sure that your money isn't just going places and it's not something you have to think about all the time, then you definitely need to check out this book, because you'll basically end up going through a lot of experiences of how your money works, if you need to earn extra money, how to go about getting your promotions, all these sorts of things. But yeah, this book honestly is amazing. I'd 100% recommend it for anyone who wants to learn about personal finance as an entry point. I know a lot of people say Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've got the book, however, from what I've seen of the actual guy who wrote it, he has a lot of beliefs, especially in the modern day kind of scamming industry of stuff like fake gurus. It's a bit questionable, however I don't doubt that the book itself is amazing. I've heard a lot of reviews of it say the book itself is really great, however what he says now is a bit off. But yeah, when it comes to this book, I'd 100% recommend it if you need to learn about your money. Now, the third book on this list is probably the most controversial one if anyone's actually read it or knows what this book is about, versus even the last 2 that are on here, considering the person who wrote those other 2. But this one here is Hard Times Create Strong Men. It's a fairly beefy book. I had my friend as well who borrowed it, and he's read through the whole thing as well. He loved it. When it comes to this book, this is basically the way the guy actually who wrote it, Stephen Arnio, who passed away beginning of 2020, I believe. Basically, he wrote this book in the intention of manning people up, or making people take on the responsibility of basically being an adult. That's kind of the premise of it. But pretty much, this book is, as he puts it, a man in a box. So if you're basically looking for a book that's going to talk to you about a lot of things, about meaning, purpose, that sort of thing, this book will definitely work for you. There is still stuff in this that I don't necessarily agree with. There is bits in here that, again, like I just mentioned, I don't fully agree with, and honestly is very, very controversial. But I'd definitely still say it's worth a read. Don't just take it by what other people have told you, because a lot of what he does talk about in here does make a lot of sense. I'm going to be rereading it at some point soon, because I would like to make a full video talking about this book. This book itself follows the idea of hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. It's an 80 to 100 year cycle that has been shown off throughout history, and he basically goes through all these different events throughout history that line up with this, and basically said by 2020, this book was written in 2018 by the way, guy that by 2020 that something drastic would happen that would shake up how we perceive the world. If it isn't a virus, it will be war. Those were his two things, and that's what it has been in the past. And obviously 2020 was questionable. And now we're in the lingering moments of possible World War III, so who knows. But when it comes to it, yeah, he talks about a lot of stuff in here that I'd 100% recommend just at least reading instead of taking on as other people's opinions of this book. Because I know a lot of people just look down on what it is purely because of what gets said in it at different points. However, there are some valid points that do get made in this book, so yes, 100% give this one a read. It's kind of harder to get now sometimes, but yeah, this is one of 4 books. There's another 3 over that way that I still need to read, but I've got other books that I want to do first. Before I continue on with this video, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more videos like this in the future. I will be making more book-related videos in the future, as I was intending to do that when I first started the channel. I just haven't really been reading mass amounts, so when I do get back to reading more and or just listen to the audiobook versions, you will find out more full-length reviews of these books. But yeah, the next one on this list is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. A lot of people have read this book, and honestly, it's probably one of the best books ever that I've read, and I probably will ever read. David Goggins as a person, I know a lot of people disagree with the philosophy of basically let yourself suffer all the way through until you get somewhere. However, his premise is basically you work at 40% of your actual power, and when you think you're done, you're only 40% of your actual usage, so you can go on further, you just want to quit. And that's his premise. It goes for a lot of things, such as his story of when he was growing up, all the adversity that he had to face growing up, throughout to the military, everything like that, going down from, I believe, 330 pounds down to about 190, I believe he says. I haven't read the book in a while, but yeah, this book here is honestly worth a read, no matter who you are. It's a great book. We'll go for a lot of things that you'd be surprised that someone can actually do. And honestly, probably will give you a different aspect of your life if you're someone who basically looks at themselves as a bit of a victim. Generally, this book is basically the anti-victim mentality book. So yeah, make sure to check this one out. Now, the last book on this list is Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson. I've also got 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. This one here I did read first, and then I got Beyond Order when it first came out. I've read this one all the way through completely. Beyond Order I did as well, read this in, I believe, 2 weeks. It was absolutely great, but when it comes to it, which one I would recommend over the other, it is Beyond Order. Beyond Order is just, overall, I'd say more a well-rounded book. Talks about a lot of topics, doesn't get too political. Even in this book, to be honest, it's not at all that political. You don't really get his political opinions too much in the book. You basically just get his thoughts as a psychologist instead. But in this book, it's a lot more personal. Goes through a lot more stuff that actually makes you feel like you're reading a person's opinion, or at least thoughts on life that is stemmed from life experience. Versus this book, which is very, I'd say, more like you're being taught a lesson than you are being spoken to about something important. Read this one, I'd say, first, and if you want to learn more, then read An Antidote to Chaos. This one here, basically, I'd probably say is worth a read. However, you don't need to read one in front of the other. This one, though, goes through many different details. I'll make basically a full-length video talking about this book, as personally, this is my favourite book I've ever read. And will be probably for a very long time. A lot of what he talks about in this book is very important, and I'd probably say we need to talk about these things a bit more. It makes you more of a better, well-rounded person, I'd say, and makes you pretty much the best version that you can be without mass change happening. He doesn't believe in the idea that you can just change on the spot. He believes that you have to take time and actually work on yourself first, and realise who you want to be before you can even get to the person that you think you want to be. I will be making a video about this book in the future, probably in this year. Haven't made it yet, but I will definitely be making a video about it, so make sure to check out the channel itself. There's a lot more content on here. But yeah, with that all being said, guys, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I upload gaming content every single week, and whatever I want to upload on Wednesdays. There'll be a setup video coming very soon, so check out that once it's out. And have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.